Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 62 of ASP .NET Core tutorial. In this video, we will discuss how to log our own messages, warnings, and exceptions using the iLogger interface provided by ASP .NET Core. At the moment, we have this application running in debug mode. And if we take a look at the debug output window, notice we have a lot of information logged by default by ASP.NET Core. We discussed this logging information in our previous video in this series. Now, if there is an unhandled exceptions, let me first clear one differences between older version and the newer version. Here you can see the diagnostic class. In the older version, we used to see web host class. So what is that difference? The difference we see is due to changes in ASP.NET Core logging system across versions. In older version of ASP.NET Core 2.x and early 3.x, the logging category for hosting request was Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.hosting.internal.webhost. That is why we used to see Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.hosting.internal.webhost. Starting with ASP.NET Core 3.0 and later including .NET 8, which we are using right now, the internal hosting classes were refactored. The logging category was renamed to Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.hosting.diagnostics. So that is why we see this here, diagnostic. Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.hosting.diagnostic information request starting HTTP/1.1. This is not an error. This is not an error in our project. It is simply the updated logging namespace that reflects the newer hosting model. The functionality is the same. Only the logger category name changed when Microsoft cleaned up internal APIs and made hosting diagnostics more consistent. In short, internal.webhost used in older version pre.NET Core 3.0, while hosting diagnostic is used in current version ASP.NET Core 3.0 plus including .NET 8. That is why in our debug output differ from previous older versions. Okay. Now what? Now if there is an unhandled exceptions. Now if there is an unhandled exception, the code within the error controller is executed. We discussed implementing this error controller in our previous video in this series. Now what we want to be able to do is, if there is an exception, we want to log the information about that exception, and that exception information should be displayed along with the log information, that we already have in the debug output window. If we are running the project from Visual Studio, in case if you are running this same project from the command line, then the log information along with our own exception information must be displayed on the console. For that, we first need to inject For that, we first need to inject the iLogger interface provided by ASP.NET Core. So let's stop the project. So let's stop the project. And then include a constructor. And then include a constructor. Within our and then include a constructor within our error controller class. We can inject the iLogger. We can inject the iLogger interface. iLogger interface. And this iLogger interface is present in Microsoft.Extensions.Logging namespace. It also takes a generic parameter. I'm going to pass the type of this error controller. I'm going to pass the type of this error controller class as the argument for the generic parameter. If you are wondering why we are doing this, take a look at the log output. Take a look at the log output that we have right here. Look at this line of log. This log is coming from diagnostic. This log is coming from the diagnostic class. How do we know that? We have the name of the class here. We have actually the fully qualified. We have actually the fully qualified name of the class. We have the complete namespace, including the name of the class. By looking at this, we can say these first three lines. By looking at this, we can say these first lines of log, first three lines of logs are coming from the diagnostic class. So basically we are using the fully qualified name of the class that is logging the information as the log category. As the log category. Log category here. We use the log category to group log information. Similarly, by specifying the type on our error controller class, we will be able to group all the log messages that are coming from this error controller class. We will look at that in action in just a bit. For now, let's name this constructor parameter logger. Let's also generate a private field by pressing Control Public. and choose the second options. Create an initialize field logger. This is the second option. We can now use this private field. We can now use this private read-only field logger throughout our error controller to log our own messages, warnings, and exceptions. I'm actually going to use it in this error action method. We know this error action method will be executed if there is an unhandled exception. At the moment, we are displaying the exception details in the view. At the moment, we are displaying the exception details in the view. We know displaying the exception detail to the end user is a security risk. So instead of displaying them in the view, let's actually log those exception details. Let's actually log those exception details. For that, let's use the logger. For that, use the logger. For that, use the logger. Use the logger. Notice on this logger instance, we have several methods that start with the word log. For example, if you want to log information, use log information. Similarly, if you want to log critical errors, use critical error. In our case, we want to log an exception, so I'm going to use log error. So I'm going to use log error. To log the exception message, let's use C#6 string interpolation. To log the exception message, let's use C#6 interpolation. We use dollar. And then our string. And then our string. So the message is the path, and we have to include the path here, and we are going to get the path from the exception details object that we have here. This object has got the path property. This object has got the path property. So with the string interpolation, the expression that we have in the curly braces, will be replaced with the expression value at runtime in this location. that is string interpolation. That is string interpolation. So this path threw an exception. So this path threw an exception. So this path threw an exception, and we want to log the exception itself. So I'm going to use another expression. So I'm going to use another exception here. So I'm going to use another expression, not exception. So I'm going to use another expression here, and to get the exception details on this exception details object, and to get the exception details on this exception detail object, we have the error property. We have the error property, which returns the exception. Let's break this down. Let's break this down to another line so we can see the complete code. While we are here, let's also clean up this error. While we are here, let's also clean up this error view. Error view is present in the shared folder. Error view is present in the shared folder. We don't want to display the exception details anymore. So let's delete all these HTML. So let's delete all these HTML. So let's delete all this as HTML. Now, if we take a look at our error controller, now if we take a look at our error controller, we have got another action method. We have got another action method here. This action method is executed. This action method is executed whenever the user tries to navigate to a URL that does not match with any route in our application. So it results in 404, and this is the method that is executed. And this is the method that is executed. Now what we want to do is, if there is a 404 error, we want to log it as a warning. So instead of displaying the details on the not found view, let's actually log them. So I'm going to delete these two lines. So I'm going to delete these two lines. These two lines of code, and then use the logger instance, On this, let's use log warning. Log warning method. The message that we want to log is 404 error occurred. The message we want to log, the message that we want to log is 404 error occurred. Error occurred. We want to display the path. We want to display the path that caused the 404 error. So let's include an expression So let's include an expression here, and to get the path that caused the 404 error, we use this status code result. We use the status code result variable. On that we have the original path property. In addition to this, let's also log the query string. In addition to this, let's also log the query string to get the query string on the status code result. And query string, in addition to this, let's also log the query string to get the query string on the status code result. On the status code result object, we have original query string property. Finally, let's clean up this not found view. Finally, let's clean up this not found view. This not found view present in the shared folder. So go to the shared folder. Here is this not found view. We don't want to display the path that caused the 404 error and the query string in the view. So let's delete those two H1. and run our project in debug mode. But before that, we have to save the changes that we have made. Save all the changes that we have made and build the solution. Build started. It is taking time. Build started. Now build succeeded. Let's run our project in debug mode. There we go. Our project is up and running. Now if we take a look at the debug output window, in Visual Studio, notice we have a lot of information. Logs, and all these information logs category name, and all these information logs category names starts with the word Microsoft. We don't want all these information logs here. So what I'm going to do is in app setting.json, for this category Microsoft, I'm going to change the log level here from information to warning. So basically we are saying only display the Microsoft category logs with a severity equal to warning or higher. Don't display the information logs. We will discuss this log level setting in detail in our upcoming video. Let's stop debugging. Save the changes that we have made just. And build the solution once more time. Build succeeded and run the project again in debug mode. Notice our project is up and running. Notice now in debug output window, we don't have all those in Microsoft information logs. Notice now in debug output window, we don't have all those Microsoft information logs. Now let's click view button. So go to the browser. So now let's click view button. We know it is going to throw an exception. This line is throwing an exception. So let's continue that. So let's continue on that. We are directed to our custom error view. At the moment, we are not displaying exception. Exception details to the end user, which is good. And if we take a look at the output window, Notice we have the exceptions details logged here. Take a look at the category name right here. It has the fully, go a little upward. Scroll down. It is there. Okay. Take a look at the category name right here. It has the take a category name here. Take a look at the category name right here. It has the fully qualified name of our error controller, of our error class. And that is because if we take a look at our error controller, we are using the type of our error controller class. We are using the type of our error controller class as the generic argument for ILogger, and because of that we see fully qualified name of this error controller. Because of this generic argument for ILogger, we see fully qualified name of this error controller class as the category name. In the log output, output right here. So by looking at this category name, we can say this log is coming from error controller. This log is coming from error controller. And because on the logger instance, we are using log error method. On the logger instance, we are using log error method. On the logger instance, we are using log error method. In the log, we see it is logged as error. In the log, we see it as an error. Finally, we also have the exception message. The path, this path /home/details/1 through an exception, and we have the complete exception detail, and we have the complete exception detail. We have the complete exception details here. Now let's try to now now let's try to navigate to a URL. Now let's navigate to a URL that does not match with any route in our application. Let's also include some query string here. Email equals Surendra at surendra.com. Let's include another query string. Let's include another query string. Let's include another query string abc equals xyz and hit enter. And then hit enter. We are redirected to the not found. We are redirected to the not found view. And if we take a look at the output window, scroll down all the way, and if we take a look at the output window, notice we have our warning logged here. It is coming from the error controller. We have the fully qualified name of the class as the category. We are using log warning, so we see it as a warning, and then here is the log message, 404 error occurred, path equals this is the path that caused 404 error. This is the path that caused 404 error, and we also have the complete query string at the moment we are running the project. And we have the complete query string at the moment we are running the project from Visual Studio in debug mode. So we see the log here in the debug output window. If we are running the same project from the command line, we see these logs displayed on the console window as well. To log your own custom message warnings and exceptions, and to log your own custom messages, warnings, and exception, inject ILogger service into the class or controller where you need the logging functionality. Specify the type of the class or the controller into which we have injected the ILogger service as a generic argument. This allows us to use the fully qualified name of that class or controller as the category name. We have seen that in action just now. Let me show the full slide here. Finally, On the iLogger, on the iLogger service instance, we have got several methods like log information, log warning, log error, etc. Use these method to log what you want. At the moment, we are logging warnings and exceptions to the debug window and console window. If we run the project from the console line, if we run the project from the command line, at the moment we are logging warnings and exceptions to the debug window and console window if we run the project from the command line. In our next video, we will discuss how to log these to a file using a third-party logging provider. That's it in this video. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.